And apparently what I've done is, without knowing it, is I've aped these people and begun to follow that kind of line.
Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin were more than entertainment icons. They defined an era, helping transform Las Vegas into the entertainment capital of the world. Alongside Sammy Davis Jr., Joey Bishop, and Peter Lawford, they formed the legendary Rat Pack, dazzling audiences with effortless charm, sharp wit, and unforgettable performances. On stage, Frank's powerful voice perfectly complemented Dean's smooth, relaxed style. Off stage, they looked just as close, sharing parties, vacations, late-night dinners, and countless laughs. To fans, they seemed like brothers whose friendship could never be broken. That made what happened next almost impossible to believe. Without warning, Dean Martin walked away from Frank Sinatra.
And you would imagine that, like, Frank Sinatra would probably be a terrible guy to piss off, because he probably can contact some people.
The calls stopped, the invitations ended, and the two men who had once been inseparable became distant strangers. Hollywood was stunned. What could have happened to destroy one of show business' greatest friendships? Those closest to them insisted it wasn't a slow drift apart. They believed everything came down to one explosive moment that Dean Martin could never forgive. To understand why, you first have to understand who Dean Martin really was. Long before the tuxedos and sold-out casinos, he was Dino Paul Crocetti, born on June 7, 1917, in Steubenville, Ohio. Raised in a hard-working Italian-American family where money was scarce, nothing about his childhood hinted that he would one day become one of America's biggest stars. Like many immigrant families, the Crocettis worked hard just to survive. Dino grew up in a tough neighborhood where standing your ground was a necessity. At just 15, he entered boxing rings as Kid Crochet, fighting bare-knuckled because he couldn't afford proper equipment. Years later, he joked that he had won all but 11 of his 12 fights, perfectly capturing the humor that would later define him. Chasing bigger dreams, Dino moved to New York, where he shared a tiny apartment with aspiring singer Sonny King. Desperate for money, the two even charged spectators to watch them fight bare-knuckle inside their apartment.
I'm not lazy. They want to think I'm lazy, but they know I work.
It was a risky way to survive, but it reflected Dino's determination. After boxing, he worked in an illegal gambling casino behind a tobacco shop, eventually becoming a roulette dealer. Yet he never gave up on music. Performing as Dino Martini, he developed a smooth vocal style that soon earned him opportunities with local bands and the Ernie Mackay Orchestra. Then came the advice that changed everything. While singing with Sammy Watkins in 1940, he was told to change his name. Dino Paul Crocetti became Dean Martin, a name that would soon be known around the world. By 1943, Dean was building a strong reputation in New York before briefly serving in the Army during World War II. After receiving a medical discharge, he returned to singing more determined than ever. His personal life was also moving forward. In 1941, he married Elizabeth Betty Ann McDonald, and together they had 4 children before divorcing in 1949. Despite his growing popularity, major record labels and film studios still passed him by. Night after night, Dean performed in small New York clubs, waiting for the opportunity that never seemed to come. Then, in August 1944, fate stepped in. While performing at the Glass Hat Club in New York's Belmont Plaza Hotel, Dean met a young comedian named Jerry Lewis. Their personalities couldn't have been more different, but that unlikely meeting was about to change both of their lives forever.
We had done so much for so long with so little. We are now qualified to do anything with nothing.
Their first conversation lasted only minutes, but it changed both of their lives. After watching Jerry Lewis perform, Dean simply told him, "You're a funny kid." That small compliment became the beginning of one of entertainment's greatest partnerships. At first, they were just 2 struggling performers chasing the same dream. But whenever they shared a stage, their chemistry was undeniable. Dean's calm confidence perfectly balanced Jerry's wild, unpredictable energy. Everything changed on July 24th, 1946. Dean and Jerry made their official debut as a comedy team at the famous 500 Club in Atlantic City. Their first performance was a disaster. The audience barely laughed, and club owner Skinny D'Amato warned them to fix the act immediately or never return. Backstage, with nothing to lose, they reinvented everything. Dean stayed the smooth, unshakable singer while Jerry became complete chaos, interrupting songs, crashing into furniture, and creating non-stop mayhem. Dean never broke character, making every interruption even funnier. The audience erupted with laughter. In a single night, they discovered the formula that made them stars.
Oh, I drink, but I'm not a boozer, not an alcoholic or anything like that. But
Martin and Lewis quickly became one of America's hottest acts, selling out clubs and theaters with a unique mix of music, comedy, and improvisation. Their success soon reached television. In 1948, they appeared on Toast of the Town, later known as The Ed Sullivan Show, performing alongside some of the biggest names in entertainment. To keep their act fresh, they hired talented young comedy writers, including future television legends Norman Lear and Ed Simmons. Their material helped sharpen an already remarkable partnership and introduce Dean and Jerry to an even larger national audience. Success came quickly. By 1949, Martin and Lewis had their own radio show and signed with Paramount Pictures. Their first film, My Friend Irma, made them movie stars, and smart business deals gave them unusual creative control over their films, television appearances, and recordings. Despite the growing fortune, their partnership had never been built on money. It was built on friendship. That bond seemed undeniable when Jerry Lewis stood beside Dean as best man at his 1949 wedding. On stage, they were unstoppable, and off stage, they looked like family. But behind the laughter, cracks were beginning to appear. Dean increasingly felt he had become little more than the setup for Jerry's comedy.
I mean, could I be where I am today if I were lazy and if I were a boozer?
While Jerry received most of the attention, Dean's musical talent often went overlooked. Small creative disagreements slowly turned into resentment. Conversations became tense, and the friendship that had once seemed unbreakable began falling apart. Then on July 25, 1956, almost exactly 10 years after their breakthrough at the 500 Club, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis performed together for the final time. There was no dramatic public fight. Their partnership simply ended. Even so, their legacy was secure. Together, they had transformed comedy and inspired generations of entertainers. For Dean, though, it was only the beginning of a new chapter. Many believed he couldn't succeed without Jerry. Instead, Dean became an even bigger solo star. His records topped the charts, film offers kept coming, and audiences embraced his effortless style and unmistakable voice. Around that same time, another legendary friendship was beginning, Frank Sinatra.
And the serious work that I do, I try to have a little fun with it.
Everything changed in 1958. While filming Some Came Running with Shirley MacLaine, Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra became close friends. They shared the same humor, the same laid-back attitude, and quickly formed a bond that would shape entertainment history. Soon, they joined Sammy Davis Jr., Peter Lawford, and Joey Bishop to form the legendary group the world would know as the Rat Pack. Ironically, they rarely used that name themselves. Originally associated with Humphrey Bogart's circle, Rat Pack was embraced by the press, while Dean and his friends preferred calling themselves the Summit, or simply the Clan. Whatever the name, they became cultural icons. Their legend reached its peak in Las Vegas, especially at the Sands Hotel, where every show felt unpredictable. Frank might interrupt Dean's song with a joke. Sammy Davis Jr. could burst into an incredible dance routine, and Joey Bishop and Peter Lawford kept the audience laughing through non-stop improvisation. Their performances felt less like rehearsed shows and more like friends entertaining each other. That authenticity made audiences feel part of the experience. Behind the laughter, they also stood for something important. Dean and Frank refused to perform at venues that discriminated against black or Jewish entertainers, insisting that if one member of their group wasn't welcome, none of them would perform. They backed those beliefs with action, even when it meant turning down lucrative opportunities. Long after the Rat Pack era ended, their influence remained. Their effortless style inspired films like Ocean's 11, while Dean Martin's Palm Springs Home and countless pieces of memorabilia continue to remind fans of a remarkable time when five friends defined an entire generation of entertainment. As Dean Martin's career reached new heights, his personal life became far more complicated. He married Elizabeth Betty Ann McDonald in 1941, and together they had 4 children while Dean struggled to build his career.
I wouldn't change one thing. Not one thing.
But as his fame grew, long nights, constant travel, and Hollywood's demands put increasing pressure on their marriage. They divorced in 1949, with Dean receiving custody of their children, an uncommon outcome at the time. Just 1 week later, Dean married 22-year-old model Jan Bieger. What many expected to be a brief Hollywood romance became the longest marriage of his life. Together they welcomed 3 children, Dean Paul, Richie, and Gina, while Jean also helped raise Dean's 4 older children. To the public, they appeared to have the perfect Hollywood family. But behind the glamorous image, the marriage slowly unraveled. Years of fame and constant public attention created growing distance. And in 1969, Dean filed for divorce. Even then, he faced heartbreak with humor, joking, "It's supposed to be the gentlemanly thing to let the woman file, but I'm no gentleman." In 1973, Dean married for a 3rd time to Catherine Hahn. They adopted a daughter, Sasha, but the marriage lasted only a few years before ending in divorce. After that, Dean never married again. Family always came first for Dean Martin. Behind the easygoing image and effortless humor was a devoted father who treasured every moment with his 8 children. Those closest to him said family mattered more than fame. His greatest pride was his son, Dean Paul Martin, known as Dino. Born during Dean's marriage to Jeanne, Dino followed an impressive path of his own. He pursued music, acting, professional tennis, and eventually became a fighter pilot with the California Air National Guard. Dean proudly watched his son build a remarkable life. Then tragedy struck. On March 21, 1987, Dino left on a routine training mission over Southern California. Flying through poor weather above the San Bernardino Mountains, his aircraft suddenly disappeared from radar. No distress call was ever received. A massive search began immediately. Military crews, helicopters, and rescue teams searched tirelessly as hours turned into days. At home, Dean could do nothing but wait. Friends later recalled that he chain-smoked while staring at the telephone, hoping for good news but fearing the worst. Frank Sinatra never left his side. Having lost his own mother in a plane crash years earlier, he understood Dean's pain better than most and offered whatever comfort he could. 3 agonizing days after the search began, rescue teams finally found the wreckage. Dean's worst fear had come true. There were no survivors. Dean Paul Martin, Dino, had died at just 35 years old. Friends said the loss changed Dean forever. His smile faded, his sharp wit grew quieter, and the effortless confidence that had defined him for decades seemed to disappear. The King of Cool was still alive, but many believed the man himself was never the same. Frank Sinatra couldn't bear watching his friends suffer. Hoping to lift Dean's spirits, he organized a reunion tour with Sammy Davis Jr., convinced that returning to the stage would help him heal. Instead, it only made things worse. Frank loved the excitement of sold-out arenas, but Dean no longer wanted that life. He wanted peace, family, and privacy. During the tour, he forgot lyrics, struggled through performances, and no longer looked like the carefree entertainer audiences remembered. Fans weren't watching a comedy legend. They were watching a grieving father. After one disappointing show in New York, Frank and Sammy headed out to celebrate. Dean quietly returned to his hotel room, then boarded his private jet and flew home to Los Angeles without telling anyone. He simply couldn't pretend anymore. The tour continued without him, but those closest to Dean understood the truth. The joy that had carried him through a lifetime of performing had disappeared with his son. As the years passed, Dean found comfort in family rather than Hollywood. Gatherings with his children, grandchildren, and extended family became far more important than glamorous parties or nights on the town. Time, however, was catching up with him. Although his famous on-stage cocktails were often just apple juice, his lifelong smoking habit was very real. In September 1993, doctors diagnosed him with lung cancer and recommended surgery that could extend his life. Dean refused. Some believed he was simply tired. Others wondered if losing Dino had taken away his desire to keep fighting. Whatever the reason, he accepted his decision quietly and stayed out of the spotlight. On Christmas Day, 1995, Dean Martin died at his Beverly Hills home from respiratory failure caused by emphysema. He was 78 years old. America had lost one of its greatest entertainers. His unmistakable voice, effortless humor, and timeless style left behind a legacy that continues to define an era. But Dean's story doesn't end there. Long before his death, his friendship with Frank Sinatra had already begun falling apart. For years, they had been inseparable, the faces of the Rat Pack and the kings of Las Vegas. Yet behind the scenes, Dean was growing tired of the constant chaos that seemed to surround Frank. Dean wanted peace. Frank often thrived on confrontation. As the years passed, that difference became impossible to ignore. According to many who knew them, one unforgettable evening finally pushed their friendship beyond the point of no return. The date was June 7th, 1966. Dean Martin was celebrating his 49th birthday with friends. It looked like another glamorous Rat Pack party, filled with laughter, drinks, and unforgettable memories. Instead, it became the night that many believe changed everything forever. Dean Martin's 49th birthday celebration took place at the famous Polo Lounge inside the Beverly Hills Hotel, one of Hollywood's most exclusive gathering spots. By 1966, Dean was at the height of his career, while Frank Sinatra remained one of the biggest stars in the world. Joining them were close friends, including actor Richard Conte and Frank's fiercely loyal confidant, Jilly Rizzo. The group laughed, drank, and joked loudly, turning the evening into a classic Rat Pack celebration. Not everyone enjoyed the atmosphere. At a nearby table sat businessman Frederick R. Wiseman and his friend Franklin H. Fox, who had come for a quiet evening. As the noise grew louder, Wiseman finally approached the group and politely asked them to lower their voices out of respect for the other guests. Frank Sinatra didn't take the request well. An argument broke out almost immediately, and what happened next has been debated ever since. Sinatra claimed Wiseman struck him first, leaving him with a black eye, and insisted the businessman's injuries came from accidentally falling into a cocktail table. Other witnesses told a very different story. According to Franklin Fox, Sinatra became enraged after the argument. Despite friends urging him to walk away, Frank allegedly grabbed one of the Polo Lounge's famous pink telephones and threw it at Wiseman, striking him with such force that he was knocked unconscious. The truth of what happened that night has never been fully agreed upon. Some witnesses described complete chaos, people shouting, glasses breaking, friends trying to separate the men, and tables being knocked aside. But every version shares one chilling moment. Frederick Wiseman suddenly collapsed to the floor. The room fell silent as guests watched him lie motionless. Franklin Fox rushed to his side while hotel security and paramedics arrived within minutes. Dean Martin's birthday celebration had become a major incident. As the confusion grew, members of the Rat Pack quietly left the hotel. Frank Sinatra was hurried away before police arrived, while Wiseman was taken to the hospital. When Dean returned home, his daughter Dina immediately noticed something was wrong. Instead of celebrating, he appeared shaken. When she asked what had happened, Dean simply replied, "Frank blew a fuse tonight. He just couldn't let it go." At first, doctors treated Wiseman and sent him home. But the next morning, his condition worsened dramatically. He was rushed back to the hospital, where doctors discovered a fractured skull. After emergency surgery, he slipped into a coma. The incident was no longer just Hollywood gossip. Beverly Hills police launched a full investigation, interviewing hotel staff, guests, and eyewitnesses. But nearly every account contradicted the next. Some blamed Wiseman, others blamed Sinatra, and some believed the injuries were simply the result of the confusion. Making matters even more difficult, both Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin had already left town, leaving investigators to piece together one of Hollywood's most controversial nights. Police Chief Clinton Anderson later told reporters that Frank Sinatra could not immediately be questioned, while newspapers turned the story into national headlines. Although no criminal charges were ever filed and eyewitness accounts conflicted, the damage had already been done. For Dean Martin, the incident reflected everything he had grown to dislike. He valued peace, family, and staying out of trouble, while Frank's larger-than-life personality often seemed to attract conflict. According to many who knew them, their friendship never truly recovered. Some said Dean stopped returning Frank's calls, while others believed he simply decided that even a lifelong friendship wasn't worth the constant drama. Frederick Wiseman eventually recovered after months of rehabilitation, and the controversy slowly faded from the headlines. But Dean never forgot that birthday. What should have been a celebration became a night of violence, police investigations, and the beginning of the end for one of Hollywood's most legendary friendships. Now we'd love to hear your opinion. Do you think Dean Martin was right to distance himself from Frank Sinatra, or could their friendship have been saved? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story from Hollywood's golden age. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.